All right. This one is about the stories I don't talk about, and this one's about my Uncle Viegh. My Uncle Viegh. I would want to talk about it, but then I don't talk about it. My Uncle Viegh is my mom's brother, and there was four of them. And before I was born, my Uncle Viegh was the oldest. He's the oldest of my mom and my. There's four of them, but there's my aunt, then my Uncle Viegh, my Aunt Andra, Uncle Viegh, and then my mom Precious, and then my Uncle Alfred. And my Uncle Viegh was the older of my mom and him, and they were like, before I was born, they were tight, I guess. You know what I mean? So my mom's, this is a story that I was told, and then so my mom says that when she was little, there used to be like a little rumor going around that, or not even a rumor, that people would, my mom and them were poor. So when you're from this inner city and you're poor, the dozens and all that. So she said sometimes there would be rumors that my Uncle Viegh was gay and it would be going around and stuff, right? She didn't like see anything. And then, so I guess one time there was a party, and then my Uncle Viegh wanted to go to it, and my grandma was working. So my Uncle Viegh took the car, either her car or someone's car. He took the car and he went to the party. And I guess while he was at the party, he got into the car and he backed it up and backed into a light pole, and the light pole came down on the car, and it hit him. And my uncle was in a coma for 2 months, and they called my family, called my mom, called my grandma, and they need to come to the hospital. This is before I was born. And so they came to the hospital. When they said they came to the hospital, they seen Uncle Viegh. He was in the bed, and he was lying in the bed dressed in women's clothes. And but he's in a coma, you know what I mean? So you can't even talk to him. So he was in the coma for 2 months. And then when he finally got out of the coma, he was paralyzed all the way down the side of his body, right? And I don't know. I'm not sure how. I guess he came out. He's gay. You know what I mean? He confessed, I guess. By the time I showed up, in those times, not in those times, in these times, but in those times, the black community, they weren't homophobic. It's just like, I don't know how you say it. It wasn't like it's not embraced. That's the only way I could say it. And so even in our family, it wasn't embraced. But my uncle was a gangster. You know what I mean? He had been out there, and you had to, like, if you're gay in those times, you had to fight your way. You know what I mean? So he had to learn how to fight and be like a gangster. And I think that he was a gangster before he got hit in the before he got in the accident. And then so he started living his life. I would see him come around, and I see my family like kind of make fun, because sometimes he would come over like, "This is my husband. We about to get married." And him and my mom were close, and I was my mom's first baby. So my uncle, that he kind of gravitated to me. I was kind of like, you can't have kids. This is kind of like your kid. And also it's my sister's kid, so he really loved me. He treated me with nothing but respect my whole time, you know what I mean? And so he's out there. He would come visit all the time, but they're not really messing with him like that. He's on that crazy shit. And so one time I came back, and when I came back, I was just sitting in the yard, and he had walked up, and he was like, "Count." That's what they call me in my family, like, "Count." And I was like, "Damn, that's my Uncle Viegh." So I brought him into the house, and everyone came. He's like, "I'm getting married again," and they was just laughing and stuff. But later, my Uncle Viegh, he had, sometimes people be stabbing him up and shit. He had got HIV, and they had people that were cutting him, and this is still like in the 80s and 90s and late 90s, and like people were mistreating him. And like, I'm in Alaska, right? So all I just hear is about, like, sometimes he'll call like he's been cut up, he needs some money and stuff like that. And it used to be sad to me, I can't do anything. And he had passed away, and he passed away alone in like a room by himself and stuff. And you know, like, it would make me mad because, like, regardless of how you feel about how my uncle sexual orientation, like, he's still my uncle, you know what I mean? And people like mistreating him and shit like that and doing weird things. And I know other people that come from families that can understand, like, you know what I mean, regardless of how you feel. Even regardless, before I didn't really understand it, and even it's not even for me to understand, like, because now in hindsight I started thinking, like, maybe my uncle was probably trying to be trans and try to come out and transition, but maybe he didn't have the good safe space and all that stuff, that he was in a room. He was dressing like a woman before, but I wish he was like in this era where he can feel like a little bit more free. But then, like, it made me mad, like, like people that mistreated my uncle, you know what I mean? So in my head, as I move around, I try to make sure, like, instead of making fun of my uncle, like, I don't want anyone else to feel like my uncle had to feel, you know what I mean? So, like, I don't like people bad talking gay people to me. I don't like any of that slander shit, you know what I mean? I take it personally too, you know what I mean? And not even like, even if we're like friends, if you keep going on about it a lot, first of all, I'll try to correct you from the door, because, like, I'm not the guy, you know what I mean? Like, I take it personal, you know what I mean? Like, I hear you doing that. To me, it just reminds me of motherfuckers mistreating my uncle, and I be wanting to, like, I be trying to be peaceful, you know what I mean? So I just try to avoid people like that, or I'll try to check you. But, you know, I'm in cultures like hip-hop and some of the black, I mean, not all of it, but some that are homophobic. And even me, it's taken me a lot. I'm a human being, you know what I mean? So it's taken me a lot to understand. But even me learning to understand, what I did understand is that I want to have a safe space around me where motherfuckers don't have to feel like they're terrible or mistreated. What difference does it make who my uncle loves? That's not your fucking business. What difference does it make what my uncle does in the bedroom? Mind your fucking business, dog. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if there's like some guy who doesn't want to love my uncle, like, I don't want to be a part of any of that. That's not something I want to be a part of. If y'all don't have any love for my uncle, then what kind of view? Why do I care what you think? You see what I'm saying? So, like, I take that shit kind of personal. I don't like to talk about it a lot because that's inside here, you know what I mean? I'm stepping on other people's toes. It's not my place to stay, but this is my place personally. Like, doing all that weird shit. And I've met a few dudes, I liked them, and then they started saying weird shit about gay people, and I'm just like, nah, I can't be your friend, you know what I mean? And I who cares whatever people think? It's not about